So what the original miniseries and the It movie have in common is that which again, I think the miniseries may mention that it could have been some extraterrestrial kind of being, and it fed every 26 years, and that's when a lump sum of children in particular went missing. So that they do have in common, both stories. Um, well, both, yeah, between the miniseries and the film. They both share the same quirkiness, and of course, their beloved The Losers Club, which I appreciated that too. Which, they were nerds. They were nerds. They were outsiders. They were minorities. Um, they were gay, and so there were outsiders within a community. They were ostracized for being who they were. And as a collective, they became the Losers Club. And of the many, there was just one female who already had a very tumultuous upbringing where I think the miniseries touches on it, but the film really showcases without it being too excessive that her biological father, had gone there, had was abusing her physically. So there's that trauma, and then how it would plague her future relationships. Um, it's hard to be a survivor in that circumstance, and so she unfortunately follows in the same patterns of uh, of her father, and finding men that resemble her father and his behavior and abusive behavior in particular. Um, but I will say the difference is, though, that the miniseries, uh, Beverly Marsh, which is the character's name, is a lot more assertive. She fell victim to certain things. She was definitely vulnerable and impressionable, but she was a lot more assertive. Like, in the film, I like the film version, but she did seem a little bit more on the submissive side. And the beloved chubby Ben that was infatuated with Beverly, played by the um, lovable, beloved John Ritter. In the miniseries, he's a lot more on the. Well, he became. I was under the impression that he was an actor, but in the character eventually becomes an architect, a very famous architect and wealthy architect, and so he's living his like very best drunk life in that version, and we don't really see much of Ben's character as an adult. I mean, he's there, he's present, and of course, they have that. Spoiler alerts, but he finally professes his love for Beverly, and they have that very beautiful scene of their first kiss underwater. Finally, after so many decades of him having this platonic relationship with Beverly. But yeah, John Ritter, nonetheless, in that version, he was very much, a playboy because he had all that money. But nonetheless, you see his humanity throughout the miniseries. And I will say that honestly, I wasn't really bothered by this contemporary version other than the CGI. And I get it, there were certain things that maybe weren't possible because, the miniseries, we were, look, in the 90s, I think people were still very much exploring um, certain effects that would make things believable. Um, so I think people were still kind of sticking to the traditional, of using a prop or using actors and like a lot of muddied clothes or makeup and whatnot. Stephen King also, come on. I mean, if you weren't familiar or privy to Creepshow, which again it was another famous programming. I remember as a kid, I don't know if it was the reruns already, but they would air on Channel 11, PIX Channel 11 late at night on Saturdays in particular at midnight. But just a little brief synopsis intro in case you don't know. Creepshow is a 1982 American horror comedy anthology film directed by George A. Romero and written by Stephen King. Making the film, I remember it being a show too, but this is a film. This is the film synopsis. This film, his screenwriting debut. The film's ensemble cast includes, and there's a bevy of lists of names here. The film is an homage to the EC horror comics of the 1950s, such as Tales from the Crypt. And who remembers Tales from the Crypt? Again, it was very much that hodgepodge way of, special effects, which would eventually develop into what we see today. And again, no shade. I don't think anybody should make fun or be like, oh, that's not believable, because again, it would eventually evolve into what we see today. That honestly, to a certain degree, I wouldn't mind it going back to, in certain instances of it going back to the original kind of special effects, because today and age, I think everything is just so augmented to the point where it just doesn't even seem doable or believable anymore. I mean, it's just not in the capacity of actors' agility, I don't think. So, it's great for creativity, but it's sometimes for me, now I don't know for everyone, but I feel like it pulls me out of the story, because now I'm just like fascinated by the CGI that I kind of get lost in that and the effect as opposed to the story itself. So, and that's another recommendation I have for you. Tales from the Crypt was a great show, at least around the time that it started. And I remember it used to be on HBO. I don't necessarily know if it's still in their vault, but yeah, that was a great show. It was 30 minutes of like the creepiest of stories, and then it had that cackle of the skeleton. And the actor's still alive. I know that he was doing some cameos, and I think you could still hire him to do special video shout outs to you with that cackle. Because that cackle is famous. So, but yeah, nonetheless, you see, you hear that? That's from the original miniseries. They have such great music. Again, I'm not saying that the movie didn't, and that I will say that's the difference. We had like more of a 50s 60s feel, as opposed to, because it had to kind of correlate with it would have to make sense for contemporary storytelling. And so we move the needle from like maybe the 60s to the 80s, and so we had some certain songs that were very popular for the 1980s decade. I will say though, the cast of kids were really fascinating. I think honestly, some of them have real star potential. I hope, because if anything, while I was doing my research, the cast, certain actors only did that particular film, I mean, miniseries, and then they never acted again. So, but I saw a lot of potential with this young cast for the 2017 version, and even the follow-up. I think they did an extraordinary job. Of the actor who played Eddie, I think his name is Jack Dylan Grazer. He did a phenomenal job. Like, you know how there's certain kids that have like this, like, you could just tell they have like an old spirit. He very much had that. Like, he was very put together for such a young actor, such a young boy, that it's like, okay, where did all this maturity come from? Like, I get it, this generation is much more advanced, but like, wow. And it's almost like it's eerie, because it's kind of in the same vein as I forget the actor's name, but he's the one that plays Five in the Umbrella Academy. Another young actor, like I get it. I mean, maybe their parents are, really great teachers and have molded their kids to being very well cultured, and have a thirst for knowledge and can express themselves very well. But amazing. The lady The female lead of the Losers Club, the Beverly Marsh of this generation, by Sophia Lillis, I think. Also, excellent actress. I saw a lot of maturity with her, and she really, a lot of her scenes, she ended up just stealing from the boys. You know, she did a great job. I get it. She was a lot more on the rougher edge as opposed to the Beverly that we know from the miniseries. But I enjoyed her performance. I really did. And who else did I appreciate? Jeremy Ray Taylor, who played Ben. And I didn't know. I think honestly, they with the movie they were able to go that step further that they weren't necessarily allowed to with ABC, because again, it was ABC, it was television, so you couldn't really go that far. So, but yet they let the N word fly. So I don't know if that was like an unedited version, but I'm like, again, certain things are dated. But again, telling of the time, that is a word that was common, and you hear it in Lovecraft country, but again, it's because it's that time period. It's a period piece in itself, even down to the speech. Um, all the kids honestly were remarkable, and the cast, the ensemble together, honestly, they did a great job. Um, and I was pleasantly surprised. I really didn't necessarily think that I would. I thought like, oh, watch them like ruin it, because they always take just the fact that there's a rumor that they're even contemplating of redoing the Lost Boys. I'm like, that's a touchy one, because a lot of people really love that. It's like trying to redo the Goonies. Those are just, or Star Wars, but just like the original Star Wars, like people will have a fit. So if you don't get it right and it gets greenlit, be very careful, because again, people are very loyal to characters. But yeah, I love them both. I recommend them. They are both available on HBO Max. I really hope you've enjoyed my Spooktacular. My popcorn is all gone. But that was tonight's snack. I look forward to doing a few more Spooktacular, spooky themed videos, reviews. If you like what you see, please give us a like. Leave us a constructive criticism in the comment section below. Or if you want to just give me a compliment, they're welcome. They're always welcome. If you like to follow me, you can follow me here on YouTube. You can also see my other videos on sofritoforyoursoul.com. And yeah, hit that notification button for the alert of my next upload. And I hope you really enjoy these reviews, and stay tuned for more. And also, when you get a chance and you do get to see it on HBO Max, let me know which it did you necessarily like. Again, I think I forgot to mention that, yeah, according to the miniseries, it was an extraterrestrial kind of being, and he fed on fear, so the clown would, it was best fitting to be dressed up as a clown, because for some reason it's the biggest fear to most people, as opposed to anything else that's a lot scarier. But there is this phobia for clowns, and so they're alluring, especially to children, but then it also has that eerie side. So but yeah, towards the end we always see that it's some strange entity, and the best way for them to combat it is by just confronting their fear. So I think towards the end they're better people for it. I will say that this versions of this contemporary version, the boy Richie of the Losers Club was fascinating. I think he had really great comedic timing. And then the adult version, played by Bill Hader from SNL, I think he did a phenomenal job. And he has such range, too. I forgot to mention that in my commentary before I was going to sign off. But yeah, I did appreciate that. So again, let me know, which version did you appreciate? Which Losers Club did you really like? And yeah, leave us comments in the comment section, please. Anyway, so let me know, and stay tuned for my next video. Do y'all like the hat too? Let me know. Check out my background. Again, all things you can get at your nickel and dime Dollar Tree as well. Your 99-cent store, Dollar Tree. You really can have a great Halloween night. I'm just going to let y'all know. Until my next video, y'all. I matched. Look, I matched. I matched the popcorn container. Alright, y'all. And thank you, Five and Below, for my wig. Alright, y'all. Now I'm really going. Bye-bye. Till my next video. XOXO.